Hello and welcome back to Tottenham Logic TV. Today I want to talk about Ange Postecoglou. Does his system work and will it work in the Premier League? Will it be successful in the Premier League? Are the players good enough to play in this system? Have we got sufficient squad depth to play the Ange Ball way? Is the future for Ange sticking with his principles and continually playing the way he believes will win us trophies? The Spurs fan base has never been more divided, in my opinion, this season more than ever. Some want Ange gone, some want him to stay, some want the players gone, certain players gone. Some say the players are good enough to play the system, but the system is not good enough for the players, if that makes sense. Some people say Ange is naive, he's stubborn, Ange is out of his depth. Naivety and stubbornness can sometimes work in your favor when it works, but being naive and stubborn when it don't work just makes you look like you don't know what you're doing. Others will say stick with Ange. I'm one of them. I believe we should stick with Ange. Others will say he knows what to do to win. He knows how to win, but you just need to give him the time and he will show you. My question is, are Tottenham that bad? My answer to this is yes and no. I'm sitting on the fence here. Let me explain my answer, why I've said yes and no to that. The truth is, we've had some fantastic performances from the team and from individual players. My gripe with this is when we do have a big win, the narrative is always we have played a poor side or the other team was just crap. It's never Spurs were great or Spurs played well or stopped them from being good. For example, 3-0 win at Old Trafford, the 2-4-1 wins against West Ham and Aston Villa, a 4-0 battering of Everton, and a 2-1 win against a good Manchester City side. Not their first team, but still a good side. They were all great performances, in my opinion. Players like Kulusevski, Maddison, Sonny, Van der Ven, Bentancur, Pasuma, Solanke, Johnson all played their parts brilliantly during these games. Ange Ball worked in these games. These players played the system well in these games. There was no talk of naive, out of his depth, and sack the manager when we won these games. So if we can beat these teams, and these are good teams, by the way, with this system and beat them well, then the system must have some sort of substance to it. It must have something there to have big wins like that. But why does it not work all the time? And that's the question we keep asking ourselves. We were awful against Galatasaray, Coventry, Palace, and Ipswich. We deserve to lose every one of those games. We were outfought and outplayed in all of those games. In my opinion, this is just my opinion. This is not disrespecting those teams, but those teams will finish below the teams that we beat in the Premier League. So it's not making sense to me at the moment. The consistency level is very poor. So what's going wrong? In my opinion, the Brighton game is the best example of what is going wrong. And let me explain. First half, we dominated away to Brighton. So our away form's not been great, but we dominated a very good Brighton side, scored 2 goals, could have scored 4 in the first half. Yes, we probably could have ceded 1, but we were well on top in that game. Second half, we completely capitulated. The reason we capitulated, yes, Brighton changed some tactics. Yes, Ange could have changed a few things, but I'm telling you now, we stopped doing the things we were doing in the first half. And these were basic things. You can talk about Ange not changing it all day long if you want, but the stats after the game were clear to see. We ran less. We won less duels. We made individual errors and we stopped pressing with the same intensity. It's not guaranteed, but if we carried on playing the way we did in the first half, it wouldn't have mattered if Brighton changed their tactics or not. Those basic things that you need to implement in the Ange system would have got us over the line for a win in that game. That's in my opinion. Ange Ball works well when you implement the philosophy on the pitch. It goes badly wrong when you don't. So every cog in the machine needs to be working for this to work. As soon as a couple of cogs are not turning, the whole thing falls apart. There's a serious problem at the moment with the players' mentality and desire to win every game, and that's not a good sign. They could have lost belief in the system, and if so, it's up to Ange to sort this out. It's his job to do so. We asked earlier in the video, are the players good enough? Yes, definitely. When they execute Ange Ball properly, then they are good enough. Are they strong enough mentally? In my opinion, not yet, which is causing the drop-off in performance, in my opinion. Is the squad strong enough? In my opinion, no. And this is where I have to hold my hands up. I said at the beginning of the season, I feel the squad was strong enough to cope with injuries and the players that we brought in were going to be good enough. But it just seems to me at the moment, the squad is not handling the injuries as well as I thought. And there's a massive drop-off in consistency when we're getting these injuries now. So the squad still needs strengthening, in my opinion. Injuries causes inconsistencies as well. So, but the good news is, can this be fixed? The good news is, yes, this can be fixed. We need a strong January window. But in my opinion, I don't think Daniel Levy is going to give us a strong January window. We need to have a bit more luck with injuries. That can never be guaranteed. And Ange needs to coach the mentality into these players even more. And if they do not take on this mentality that we need to play this system week in, week out, 2 games a week, it's going to be very, very difficult. On a positive note, we are only 3 points from third in the league, which tells me the rest of the league are having inconsistency problems too, which also leads me to thinking, maybe are we playing way too many games? We're playing so many games. And how many international breaks we had already? 3 already. It's insane. We are still in all the cup competitions, so we have to look positively there. We just need badly to stop having these poor performances because it's very, very frustrating. And that's causing even the strong Ange inners to have a little bit of Ange doubt, because we need consistency if we want to go on and win a trophy, especially this season. This is results-driven business. And if Ange continues to have these bad results on top with bad performances, because I don't mind losing, it's just the way we're losing. It's really, really frustrating me at the moment. It's going to be very hard for the board to keep Ange if this keeps happening. It's not all doom and gloom. This can be turned around. It's going to be against the odds, in my opinion, to turn this around, but it can be. I'm just fed up with sacking managers when the going gets tough and starting yet another rebuild. I really, really hope Ange can turn this around and start getting us consistent performances and improve that away form, strengthen that mentality in the players, and eventually get us on to winning a trophy. If he can do that, I'd be more than happy. I'm Ange in. I really want him to do well. I really believe he can. I've researched this guy so much, and his winning mentality is so contagious, and I'm just hoping that it can just drip down into the players, and hopefully they can trust him and believe in him. If they can, then this can all be turned around and we can have a good season, and Ange Ball can work in the Premier League. If everything I just said doesn't happen, then I'm sorry, it's not going to work, and Ange Ball won't succeed in the Premier League. Let's just hope so. Let's hope we can all get behind him eventually and go on and win a trophy. We all want to go to Wembley and watch Tottenham lift a trophy, especially Sonny. We can only dream at the moment because it's so inconsistent. Nothing's predictable with Spurs. Let me know in the comments what you think, and come on, you Spurs.